Hi, I'm Aditi Kesari. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Medical Education, and I'm the assistant dean of curriculum integration in the College of Medicine. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how we can use AI as a teaching assistant. Now, in my different roles, I get to interact with multiple faculty members, and I see that they really strive hard to be good educators and provide high quality education to their students. But because we all are juggling other responsibilities as administrators, healthcare providers, and researchers, what happens is that we never get enough time to invest in creating those useful, effective learning material. On the other hand, there's always this pressure to create these ideal learning objectives, create tons of practice questions, give these teaching aids like charts and tables, summary outline, and along with that, we also need to give them effective formative feedback. And so I'll talk about some tips to use AI as a teaching assistant and also share an example where I used AI to provide narrative feedback to more than 170 students in my course. So you must have heard that AI is being used to generate these practice questions, for building learning objectives, for creating tables and summary outlines. But the important thing here is to remember that when you use AI as a teaching assistant, you have to give it specific prompts or instructions so as to get expected results from it. It is important for us as faculty members to ensure that the information generated by our new teaching assistant is accurate, relevant, aligns well with our syllabus, and appropriate for students' level of learning. Because if we don't check all these boxes, it won't create an effective learning experience and our students won't be satisfied with the overall learning experience. And hence, the human in loop approach is very essential when using AI as a teaching assistant. I decided to do that on the reflections that our students write on an experience where they get to meet a patient and their family. I use Microsoft Forms to collect all those reflections. Once those reflections were collected, I exported that data to an Excel sheet, and that gave me timestamps to see whether the students had submitted their assignments on time, and I was able to filter out the submissions that came in late. The next thing I was able to do is generate a standardized rubric using AI. And that rubric I was able to incorporate into the same Excel sheet in such a way that each reflection had a drop down menu for each of the criteria in the rubric. And so, with just few clicks, I was able to generate a narrative feedback for each of the reflection. Now, I still had to read all those 170 reflections. However, by combining all these technologies, I was able to reduce the effort intensive process and focus my energy on reading those reflections. This allows me to bring in the human in loop approach. That is because my students pour their hearts out when they write those reflections and even share their personal stories. And for me, it is important to give them that safe and secure setting where they can do so. And I also want to provide that personalized feedback when they provide such reflections. Because just as humanism is an important part of medicine, it is an equally important part of education. As we navigate through this world of technology and artificial intelligence, it is important to continue nurturing humanism in education. Thank you for listening.